How you guys doing today?
Ooh. Yeah, let's make some noise, yeah.
We're so happy to have you guys here today. So, let's just start with recognizing you guys both wear so many hats when it comes to the music industry, Jaden as a fashion designer, and most importantly, philanthropy, right? So I think something really important to talk about is staying true and authentic to yourself as you work with different brands and different partnerships. So I want to just kick it off with that question, right? Like, how do you stay true to yourself when you're, advancing your career with different brands outside of your own?
Yeah, I think that something that's really important to both of us is just staying true to who we really are and being authentic. And I think that sometimes when you're working with brands, it's really important to keep that, And I think, one thing we have to do is we have to go and we have to think about what we really care about, So for me, I think it was in 2019, I was working on an album and I was shooting music videos for that album. So I was working a lot in downtown LA, and I would go down there and there would just be there'd be a lot of homeless people, there would be a lot of trash, there'd be a lot of craziness and chaos going on around Skid Row, people living on the street, other people trying to clear them out, moving into new just parts of the street. And I was just thinking to myself, I really want to do something that can raise awareness about what's happening here in LA, because there's so many influential people that can make a difference that are living there.
Right.
And then I was also like, I want to be able to do something to raise awareness, but also to give back to the community. And in 2019, I started working on the I Love You restaurant and the I Love You project, where we get a food truck and we give away free food to people on Skid Row. And that originated in 2019 when I was working on that album. But then when the pandemic hit, it just completely stopped, and I wasn't able to do that anymore. And then, the partnership with Samsung and us and everything that we're doing came along. And then that presented a perfect opportunity when we said, hey, we want to do something, we want to work together, we want to do something.
Right.
And then this idea came where it's like, hey, we could bring back the I Love You food truck in partnership with Samsung, because this is something I've wanted to do for a long time. And, I'm passionate about, sustainability, I'm passionate about food, health, and food deserts, and I'm passionate about housing and making sure people have access to clean, healthy food. And I was like, but I'm also passionate about Samsung and this partnership that we have together. So like the perfect synergy is mixing those two things together. And that's exactly what we did for the holiday campaign. And it's moments like that where I just look at what we've done and say, you know what, this was like the best use of our time, of everything that we put, our energy that we put into this. And those are those like very specific opportunities that make me feel like, okay, this brand partnership not only is amazing and is working for me, but also for my community and the things that I really believe in. Yeah. So I think that's the most important thing with us when it comes to being authentic and working with a brand, but then still being yourself. I would say that is like the best opportunity that I've ever gotten. So I just want to say thank you to you guys for allowing me to do that, because that really changed my life. So amazing. Thank you.
Of course.
Damn. I'd follow that. That's pretty much damn near what I was gonna say. But yeah, I think just being fully yourself and seeing what connects. I think figuring out who you are as a human first is really important before you start working with brands. Is how I like to look at it, because then you can figure out who authentically blends in, like what he said, like synergizes with you and your energy. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like matching up to your ethos, right?
Yeah, I mean, even how this came about, I think. Yeah. Can I tell that story?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So we were on the Justin Bieber tour, and it got canceled like right when I joined it, and he was doing a show at Samsung in New York at the what venue is that?
It's like the main
837.
Yeah.
837. Yeah, Janet. Yeah. And and like we were supposed to perform at Madison Square Garden that night. I was super amped. I was super excited. My mom flew from LA to come see me. She hasn't seen me perform in the longest time. And the show got canceled, and I was just very bummed, because I was like, music's my life. That's like what keeps me going. And I haven't been on tour in years before that. And so it was like, I was bummed. And then I called Jaden because he had a show that night with Samsung, and I was just like, I'm itching to perform. I'll perform on the streets if I have to. And then I called Jaden, and I was like, can I just open up for you? I had no idea anybody from Samsung. I had no idea that even getting a partnership was gonna happen. I just went to perform and be authentic myself and just go have fun and show my mom my new songs.
Right.
You know, and from that, just me performing and doing something that I love, that I'm passionate about, this partnership came about when I wasn't even looking for it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think those are the best partnerships, is when you're not looking for it. There's so many people who are like going online and be like, I want to team up with this person, but I have no idea why.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to work with this company, but I have no idea why, because they're popular or whatever. And I think when you're authentically yourself and it moves with you.
Yeah, those authentic connections.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think just being authentic is very important.
100%.
And being weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, like determining if a brand is right for you can sometimes be a struggle for up and coming content creators. And I think you guys have both done a great job, laying out how you guys see yourself integrating our products specifically in this situation to your world, right? So it's not like a forced partnership. So, what are y'all's thoughts about determining who is the right brand for you? Like, is it okay to say no if it's just not a fit, Because I think people struggle with that, right? It's not all about the paycheck. It's about more.
I used to live with this. We grew up together, and I used to live with him, and so I got to see him with all the brands getting thrown at him, and he was like, nope, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how are you going? How are you turning this down? And he'd always be like, nope, and like push it aside, and I was like always confused by that. So I think he can do the best with talking about that. But I'm like,
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you got to see those times too, Harry, because there's a lot of things that come our way all the time in this life that we live in, where it's just like you're getting bombarded with things, and certain things can actually agree with who you are as a person, and certain things don't. And I think that, like we were saying, we all have our interests, and those interests that help us to be our authentic selves is what helps us to see what's truly aligned with us, right? So for me, I have certain things that I always check for in specific brands. And one thing that really just early on stood out with me with everything that Samsung does and made me say, hey, this is going to be the right place to go for me, was in the beginning I saw you guys did a specific collaboration with actually one of my friends who is a creator, and he makes products out of recycled plastic.
Right.
And I actually bought one of his products from him. He makes these beautiful chairs that are like folded onto themselves out of recycled plastic. And I love his work, and I love him as a creator. And you guys aligning yourselves with him, that was a very early calling that I could say, okay, I should align myself with Samsung as well, because they're aligning themselves with creators that I look up to, that I feel like is one of my peers, somebody that I want to be like, somebody that I feel like is making an actual change in the world when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to recycling. So seeing you guys make that connection there really made me feel like, okay, that's the people that I want to be in the room with. Those are the connections that I want to make. This is definitely the type of a brand that I want to be a part of based on the things that I want to bring into the world. So oh, you're the best, Jaden. You're the best. You're the best. And once again, you have to feel like it's a real family within the people that you work with, because this is a company that I genuinely feel like is a real family. When we did that, performance with Harry at the building for Samsung in New York, it just felt like a whole, I don't know, it felt like a real community.
Yeah.
And the Misfits community was allowed to come in as well, because, we have our own communities and things that we do.
Yep.
You guys accepted, our fan base, our community into your space as well. So these are all of the things that you're looking for when you're deciding what type of brands and partnerships that you want to have.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I kind of want to touch on one thing here about social. So you guys are pretty, selective about what you post on social. For you guys, it's not, quantity, it's quality, right? So, what's your take on creating content that your audience likes rather than creating content for your audience?
Again, I'm weird.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like I have no following and no audience, but I have one. And I'm like, I think with that, it's just really, again, staying authentic.
Yeah.
And I don't post as much because I like to be present in my everyday life. And not in like a bad way, that it's like, I think it's a very beautiful tool to use it, but I think when it comes naturally and when you're excited to show something that you're working on, I think that's the best time where I'm on it and sharing, because you don't have to post. I feel like people post too much, which is amazing, I guess. But like for us, I mean, for me specifically, I'm like, I want to have it mean something. If I post something, I just want it to have it mean something, whether it's a silly post, but it's like, it means something to me, it's important, and people get to know me through that. I like
when you actually are like, you know, every time you post, you really are doing something where it's like, especially with the last time we went to the hospital when we did that post, it's like, it's always something that's like you've been working on for like years or something that's really, you know, impactful. You know?
Because I also don't want to throw it in people's faces.
Right.
You know, it's like a lot of things that I'm doing, I'm like, here's excessive content, here's everything about me, and here's my living room, and this is my shoes, and this is my how I shave or whatever. It's like, it's amazing, but you have to leave a little mystery, is what I feel.
Yes.
You know, there has to be like, you know, what if Prince had an Instagram? He wouldn't be Prince to me. But it's like, I don't know, those little things where I'm like, I've always just wanted to just share the real side that people don't really want to share. And I started Instagram when I got diagnosed with cancer 9 years ago. So that's when I first started it. You know, and that's why I was like filming myself doing chemo and making it like a funny thing. And that's how I started getting a following and traction, because I was authentically doing something that makes people uncomfortable and no one else really wanted to share the stories of themselves. And so it's like, from there, if it doesn't meet that kind of level of like sharing life and advice and being true to me, to hopefully have someone else find their truth as well, it's like, then I don't feel like it's necessary to.
And also helping other people to get through when they were watching you going through something similar. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I feel like right now on social media, a lot of the times, a lot of people try to post, you know, this is like the best thing or the best case scenario in my life, or like, look at all of the good things that have happened to my life and everything is just good and going perfectly and everything's amazing. And I feel like sometimes me and Harry both try to say, hey, this is what happened to me today, regardless, you know, sometimes it's gonna be like something really good, and sometimes we're gonna show sides of our life that are not good, so that people that are maybe going through the not good stuff as well can like kind of relate to us as well, and understand that there's other people that are also, you know, at all different types of levels of life going through different types of things.
Absolutely.
You know, I think that's really important.
I don't know if you've seen Jaden's crying post he did the other day.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you know where that spot he's at, if you know all the things that from that, it's like there's emotion behind it, and it's like it's okay to be a man and to cry and be vulnerable, and it's
showing
a weird
human
post,
side.
but it's like it's real life, right? And that's what we like to show, is to make the uncomfortable comfortable.
100%.
So like where do you kind of draw the line? Like where do you say, you know, I'm gonna do fashion content, I'm gonna do tech content, I'm gonna do mental health content? Like how do you kind of distribute your social content so it feels, you know, authentic, of course, but it's, you know, you're not oversaturating one end of your life, music or.
I think it comes down to when we wake up in the morning, and that what's in the tip of our brain when we wake up, and that thing that we're trying to accomplish in the day, that thing that we're trying to manifest, then that will be like, oh, I should focus on this right now today. Like right now I'm in the studio, I'm working on musical things, I should post about music, or I should post about my new music video. Or right now I'm working on my new collection, or I'm working on some new designs for a collaboration that I'm doing, I should post about that collaboration that I'm doing. I should go and take photos about that, you know? Totally. Or just scheduling sometimes. I'm doing a show and it's coming up, I'm gonna post about it. I have a new thing that's coming up. So I think a lot of times it comes down to scheduling. And if it doesn't come down to scheduling, it comes down to the different things that we're trying to accomplish specifically in that week or that day. Oh, this is what we're thinking about, so let's go and post this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So kind of coming back around to brand partnerships, you know, I think you guys have a really good, you know, solid grounding of you post what you want to feel real to you, but how do you not get caught up in the numbers of it all, right? Like you want social posts to perform well, right? To kind of maintain good relationship with brand partners, but how do you continue to keep that passion, you know, intact, but also want content to perform? Like what's the key there?
You know, I think the interesting thing that me and Harry both noticed as well is that when the passion is in it, and if you really care and if you put that attention to detail, that you can make sure that it is performing the way that it needs to perform, as well as it being exactly what you were doing. You know what I'm saying? Or exactly what you want to be doing. So for example, with some of the things that we've done together, the I Love You campaign, it's like, because I care so much about that, I'm posting that everywhere and taking it over the top, opposed to just doing it like once or something. And I'm going around and I'm talking about it and I'm leading people towards it. And, you know, I think that's what it takes sometimes, to just go a little bit above and beyond for the things that you really do care about. But I do notice that when you really put your heart into it, and if you really think it's a good idea, that it will work out and it will be, and especially if it's just authentic and it's just like you're pulling out the flip and you're just making a little quick video and then you're posting it. People are gonna love that because they can tell that you literally just pulled your flip out and just like made a video.
It wasn't forced.
It's not forced.
I think people tend to like that more.
Yeah.
Than like, let me sit there for 45 minutes and what's the caption gonna be? Let me swipe and see all these little like filters and whatever you can do. It's instead of that, it's like when you don't care but you're passionate about it, like if I'm in the studio or something, or if I'm at my cancer center or whatever it is, it's kind of just you show the space and you show that and you post it and people can, it's just the engagement to just see people who actually like what you're doing. Right? Because then you can have a whole different audience from something else and they might not be into the same thing that you're into, and that's totally okay. So you might lose engagement, you might gain engagement again. You just got to figure out what your pocket is of who is like you. And there's many people like you. You know? So.
So what's y'all's advice for people who are kind of struggling to find their personal style or their, you know, stay authentic in their content, right? Like,
wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and say, I love you.
Yes.
I love you, and then dance.
And then dance.
That's a good
and beatbox,
one.
right?
That's a good one.
Because I think, you know, in this industry, some people, you know, have a hard time. They start getting on social or they kind of build a persona online and then they kind of lose sense of self. So it can be really hard.
The number one most important thing when it comes to finding your own personal style and sense of everything is experimentation, I would say. Is being able to try something one day and try something, you know, something different every day for a week, and then look back on that week and saying, you know, hey, I was really onto something there. And, hey, you know, I'm never gonna try that one again. Or, you know, hey, you know, when you can experiment and just kind of just try different things, hang out with different people, wear different clothes, listen to different music, you can kind of triangulate and say, hey, okay, I'm going to find the meanness inside of all of this. Because what you end up doing is you start finding little bits and pieces of yourself in all of these different things that you can eventually mix together until you can distill it further and further down into that thing that's just uniquely you, that you find that was a thread in between all those different things. So that's what I would say. And certain thing, another way they used to describe it is that life is kind of like stair steps that get like, that are staircases in the dark, and when you discover something else, it's like a spotlight gets onto that one step, and you get to the next step, and then you look around so you find that next one, and then sometimes you skip steps, but eventually you find them all, and then when you do, you can really choose like the path, which is your path that you know, authentically are on. And that's what it's all about. When you can take in as much information as possible, learn as much things as possible, experiment as much as possible, find yourself little bits and pieces of yourself in those things and distill that, all of that down until you find what's uniquely you, you know?
And I think the coolest part with that is now creators and, you know, musicians and artists, they can make songs and make snippets and post it or sing it or do it live on their Instagram and see what people engage with more too. You know, so if someone's finding their sound in music, you can post 30 videos of you singing covers or singing different types of songs and seeing how people engage with that or whatever it is, to be like, that's your sound and that's where you sound the best in, or that's the genre you should stay in, or whatever it is. I think there's so much uniqueness of not being trapped into like a box. And if something feels right to you and feels right to your heart, as cliche as that is, it's like, if from there, then we've talked about it before, but like manifestation into what you actually want, right? And if you can figure out the first step, which is like being authentic and figuring out what works for you, and then you can see what those next 20 steps are, that I always say, like, what's the moon for you, right? Like, how do you shoot for the moon? What's the biggest goal you ever had in life? And then what are the little steps to actually get you there, right? And that's gonna take however long it's gonna take, but if you figure out those steps, it's the best journey, you know?
Amazing. So we're actually gonna open up, the live stream's been open and we've got quite a few questions.
Awesome.
So thank you for everyone. If you have more questions, keep them coming. So first one. I think this is kind of fun since, if you haven't caught on, they've been very good friends for a long time. So how has it been being able to collaborate with each other through Samsung? And how do you find the transition from your old device onto your new device?
Wow. I think honestly being able to collaborate together on things like this, even being here right now together, and even the show that we've done together with Sam, like it's such an amazing way to collaborate with your friends and just hang out as well, but also to work on something that really means something to both of you guys. And I feel like I definitely encourage people that have like really close homies and really close friend groups to like find like a thing that you guys can all do together that kind of like benefits everybody, because it is a beautiful experience to be able to travel and do this. And
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a long time, so it's great to be like, oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna be here and do this together,
another
you know?
reason to come hang out. And as far as our transition from our last device to these new devices that we have, I mean, it's like the greatest transition ever. It's such a beautiful.
The misfit kid.
Yeah, like this, being able to work on these and actually have multiple devices and not just one it's amazing. The technology that you guys have in it is insane. The camera is just ridiculous. I was taking pictures yesterday and it just makes everything feel so much brighter. It's been very cloudy in LA, but still when you take the photos, it feels so vibrant and bright as if the sun was still out. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's amazing. And then the watch is just perfect for working out with me, tracking heart rates, things like that, steps, calories. Like, that's just amazing. Like, I love it.
Yeah,
I really do.
think, also think like making the switch was very easy.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's like everyone's like tripping out about that, but it was very normal and easy, where I feel like people get like overwhelmed with something new.
Yeah.
But like, this is my favorite phone I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually though.
100%.
But I think I don't know, I think just like what he just said, like finding your group of friends and like pushing. We've always pushed each other no matter what since we were young. It's like, you can do that, and you can do that, and you can do that. And we've talked about building cherries, and we've talked about performing and making music before we did make music.
Yeah.
And like the fact that we're here is just, you don't stop, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, these were dreams that we talked about in his backyard 11 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's like, we're here and we get to do something with people that we love, and it becomes like a bigger part of a bigger family, and it's like, you get to see that.
Yeah.
You know?
Amazing. We love having both of you on our team.
Oh, thank you.
We love it.
We love being here.
Okay, this is a question specifically for you, Harry. So, how does one find out who they are and how to love themselves? And do you have any advice for someone starting their self-love journey? Been a fan for many years, and I love you, Harry. From Nicole.
That was very sweet. How to start the self-love journey? I mean, I don't think to start is, first off, is you already started by just asking that question. Is like, you started already. And I think with that is figuring out, you know, if there's self-help books. I love the 4 Agreements. That's kind of the first book I got into. The Alchemist. Those are like the first 2 that started my self-help journey, but also going through cancer. And then when I was finished with chemo, the doctor's like, I was prepping to die, you know, and I was prepping not to be alive. And then the doctor's like, hey, you're good. Like, go out and live your life. And I was like, what? Like, you're not gonna watch me every day now and like make sure I'm good? He's like, no, go live your life. And then I was like, I have no idea what to do, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was the beginning of my self-help journey, right? Because that's when I went through a really bad depression, because you were like, life is so precious and look how beautiful it is. And then you walk out and there's war, and then there's road rage, and then there's like gossip about nothing, and then you're just like kind of like overwhelmed with like, don't you guys see how beautiful everything is? Look at this tree, and like, look at this, and everyone does not see it the way you're seeing it, because I'm like, I have a second life again, right?
Yeah.
And so then I got really depressed. And then I was living with him at the time, and he was like, I'm moving to New York, you should come with me. And then I started, you know, redoing everything in my life in New York, right? And so it's like finding who I am as a person and working out and waking up early and learning how to meditate. And learning how to meditate is just, you can just sit there and read or breathe or like look at a sunrise or a sunset. It's like, for me, it's trying. You know, it's never gonna be perfect, and you're always gonna do this in life. Like, you're never gonna find that, whatever you're looking for, but as long as you're aware and you know your tools to help yourself, I think figuring out what those tools are.
Yeah.
And for me, a morning routine is like the most important thing to start your day, is having a proper morning routine.
Yeah.
eating right and, doing whatever makes you happy, getting off your phone first, figuring out who you're going to be today, and then going forward, it's very easy, and that's what I've learned, because then I'm present in conversations, I'm present when I go out, I'm happier, and I'm more myself. But if I'm waking up and I'm rushing and I'm doing all this, you're going to be like, I think, there's a lot that goes into it, but the fact that she's asking that is like...
Already on the journey.
Yeah.
How did everything that you're talking about right now lead you to what you did in Nashville?
Oh, well, so I have a charity called Hey, I'm Here For You. And what it is, it's helping teens from 13 to 19 kind of figure out passion and purpose while they're going through treatment. And I figured that out because when I was 20 going through chemo, I wasn't a pediatric patient. I was considered an adult. So I'm doing chemo with, 80-year-olds. And so I felt like there was no one I could relate to, right? So everyone's like, you're like my grandchild. You shouldn't be here. But I'm like, I'm here.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like that's the conversations I was having. Like, you're so young. You shouldn't have cancer. But I'm like, I have it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like you can't really go around that. And I would always ask my doctor, like, is there anybody my age around? And HIPAA laws, you can't discuss that. So he's like, no. And then I see somebody my age walking. I'm like, what the hell? Like, you just said there's no one my age. Like, I can't tell you who that is. And I'm like, oh, like, but you don't know that. There's a lot of like red flags and things. So during this process, I had music to fall back on. And I always tell this story. I had a woman sitting next to me in my first chemo. Her name was Bonnie. And the first thing she says is like, she grabs my hand and she's like, this is gonna suck. Right? And I'm like, what the hell, Bonnie? I'm like just sitting there like scared. And she's grabbing my hand. She's like, this is gonna be really tough. And like, I'm so sorry you're going through this, but like, this is who you are now. It's like it's just a part of you, and you got to accept that. Once you learn to accept that, you can learn to beat it, or you can learn to just be fine with it, right? And so she grabs me and she's like, what do you love to do? And I'm like, I love to make music. And the first thing she asked, she's like, would you die for music? And I'm like, really confused because I'm dying right now. And like, it was a really confusing question. So I sat there, I'm like, would I die for music? Who asked that? And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, music saved my life in so many ways, right? Since I was a child, like music's helped me get out of like every bad spot I've ever been in, right? And so I sit there and I'm like, you know what? Like, yes, I would die for music. And she's like, no matter how sick you are, how nauseous, how tired, whatever it is, she's always put music before cancer. So you have something to put before cancer. Do you have friends and family? I was like, yeah, I love my friends and family. She's like, okay, music, friends, family, cancer, right? And then she's like, you show up like it's school, you show up every day like it's work, and then everything else is more important than the cancer stuff. So every day I made it important to be in the studio or writing a song or making music during chemo or whatever it was. I made it sure, even if it's 5 minutes a day, I made sure like music was a part of the day, right?
Wow.
And for me, it's like, I am so lucky I had something I was passionate about during that time. So I was in the studio at 3 in the morning and then going to chemo at 6 a.m. It made no sense. My doctor hated me, but it was like, that kept me alive, I was at the concerts and mosh pitting while I was doing treatment. My doctor's like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, I just want to live if I'm going to. It was this whole thing of, I had something to fall back on. So I created this charity because I'm like, if I beat this, I need to figure out how to help kids who are younger in the pediatric. Because pediatric, you have thank you, Janet. But for a pediatric patient, you're 19 doing chemo with a 2-year-old. Oh. And so that's also a confusing thing. And so we built this space out in Nashville called the Hey, I'm Here For You Center. And it's for 13 and 19-year-olds who have a common ground to hang out with each other and meet each other naturally. So there's a meditation space. We're adding a recording studio. There's TVs and couches where if someone's watching a game or playing a game, and I see Jaden playing a game that I love, then we get to have that communication and have that conversation and become friends. Yeah. And then beyond that, it's like we're providing passion and purpose for the kids. So if he wanted to learn sustainability, I'd bring Jaden in and Jaden would mentor the kids who want to learn about sustainability. Yeah. Right, and it's very just this ongoing, in the moment concept that I've created, and we've just been in Nashville working on that.
Yeah, and we just went down there maybe 10 months ago. Maybe 10 months ago we went down there and we were able to get in there for the first opening since COVID of it. And yeah, it's amazing. It's a really good job that you did there.
That's why I'm wearing this.
Yeah.
It's at the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And his album is also called Hey, I'm Here For You as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that all blends into one big
Yeah.
picture.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
cohesive
For all you
story.
content creators out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an amazing story. I mean, truly inspiring. And I think there's no way to avoid the fact that, mental health comes into play, right? You mentioned you went through depression at one point, so I think being on social for some people can make it worse, right?
For sure.
So like, what do you do, right? Like, how do you keep your mental health stable when you're, creating content, creating music, trying to please others in a way, right? Putting out things that other people want.
I think, like Harry said, it's really important in the morning, in the beginning of the day, to just kind of take some time to yourself before you do anything, just to kind of feel any lingering emotions or thoughts from the day before, and then start to plan kind of your thoughts and what you're going to do for the next day and how you're going to feel and everything. And also, our phones, they're so versatile. They do so many different things that sometimes, social media isn't the only thing that you can do on your phone. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I have to just take social media off of my phone. I'll just scroll through my camera roll. I'll just go take photos. I'll record, whatever. And sometimes I have to take it off of my phone just so I can get a little mental break from what other people want me to think about, and I have to get back to deciding what I'm going to think about for myself and deciding, how I'm going to feel, you know what I mean? Because there's so many things where people can put it on, Instagram and just get emotional, visceral reactions from so many people at once. And, sometimes you want to take yourself out of that equation when you need to. And when you feel like you're getting overwhelmed, it's okay to remove yourself from that equation for a little bit and then just jump back in again when you can be like a healthy participator. You know what I mean? But when you feel like you're getting farther away from that, you can take a break. That's fine. You don't have to do it all the time just because everybody else is doing it. And that's that thing about being yourself and being authentic to you because, technology and our phones and everything, it does so much, and that's not the only thing it does, you know? So that's what I do sometimes.
Well, with that, it's like not beating yourself up because you're not. Everyone's comparing and competing, especially on social media. It's like, I'm 20 and I don't have a Lamborghini and I'm not the biggest TikToker in the world or something like that. It's like you can't compare and you can't compete. You have to figure out what you want and then kind of just go after that. Because when you're off social media, you have to figure out who you are.
Right.
Because it makes you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
You be doing amazing things and you look on something and you're like, I'm not doing what they're doing though. And we all get caught in that. From the biggest stars in the world to just a normal, it's like we all get caught into the comparing and competing.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're falling into that trap and you're getting depressed and you're getting sad, like step away and go through your camera roll, go to a park, go do some weird shit.
Take a minute.
Yeah.
Take a second.
Yeah, go do something weird and then get with your friends and have real conversations. And,
have real conversations.
It's not like gossip conversations. It's like spread that.
We got about a minute left, so I want to do one more live stream question.
Okay, cool.
From Kid Tango. In a world full of social media and outside impactful ideas, where and how do you find a way to take ideas and make it more your own brand? Yeah,
and sometimes I think when we're working on ideas too, that we want them to be like really, really innovative, we'll start, pulling information from other places. There's the mainstream of information that's coming through on our feeds or on, on socials that we all tap into. But then there's other streams of information that you can begin tapping to, whether you can say, hey, I'm gonna pull all my visual information from this like old black and white movie to inform this new project that I'm working on, And I think it's good to do that, or to be like, hey, everybody's listening to all of these albums, but you know what? I'm only gonna listen to the Beach Boys for the next 4 or 5 months and see what happens. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? There's different times of that you can just go and you can say, hey, I'm gonna, instead of pulling all my visual information from the same place that everybody gets it, let me just go to some place that like I know not a lot of people that are in, making an album or making a collection or designing a watch. None of the people are gonna do this. So let's just go over here for a while and let's only take visual and sound cues from this, So I think that's a really good way sometimes to kind of put yourself in a creative silo. So it's only what you can come up with in yourself and what you know from your own past, and then only what you're getting from this kind of closed loop of information and see what you can do with that. You know, I feel like that's a really good way to kind of direct your mind into different places to say, hey, this is our zone right now. We're staying within this confines of this zone, or hey, we're only going to look at this or watch and listen to these albums, and then we're going to create from there. That's something that I like to do a lot, just to get out of the main flow of everything.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, with that being said, it's like there's so much being thrown onto you, so you just hear the songs that are being shown to you or on the radio or here in your face, instead of like, let me go off the beaten path. Like I'll go on to like a Spotify or an Apple Music or whatever it is, and kind of just go off the beaten path and like find the most random artist and find the most people that can like inspire and kind of create and do that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
You guys are incredible. This has been such a wonderful chat to hear from you guys. Not right now.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not the talent, right? Yeah. But thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate it. For those of you that are watching on the live stream, make sure you take the survey in the description. And we appreciate you guys.
And make sure you make
here.
the switch.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.